croissant.
Tactics of full-speed blitz attacks can no longer be used. Instead, he decides to try and flank his opponent. He orders Lai forward to suppress Kuni from the sides. While the giant wolf does that, Ian orders Macho to fire an ice wave. Finally, he launches his own attack, electrical propagation, into the mix to create an incredible combo move. Thanks to that quickly made plan, Huni's skeletons are inflicted with the stun effect, bringing their speed down by 30%. My bro Uno reverse carded him, but even stronger. Throughout this, though, the smug smile does not leave Huni's face. Standing in place, he raises a single finger and shoots the spell Judgment of Darkness like a bullet. Ian dodges this. However, the spell clips his clothing in the shoulder and rips it to shreds regardless. The Taming Master is stunned to see the level of power in the spell. After all, Judgment of Darkness is the most basic Dark Magician skill. Well, whatever. It may be fast, but it can only be shot in a straight line from the source. So all he really has to do is keep an eye on Huni's fingers. While Huni goes on another dramatic mini-rant about his own greatness, Ian fires electrical propagation through the ice left on the ground by Macho. Once the electricity is channeled through it and hits the skeletons, their stun effect is renewed, giving Ian some time to act. Quickly, he orders Macho to swing forward with a straight punch. To Huni's confusion and smugness, the punch stops just short of the skeletons, leaving everyone off guard for a moment. That moment turns out to be exactly what Ian was fishing for. The punch from Macho was just meant to distract the skeletons and Huni long enough for their next move. At Ian's order, Lai shoots out from behind Macho and leaps into the fray. Quickly and without losing a beat, the wolf goes on a blitz rampage to slash through a large chunk of the skeleton forces. Finally showing something other than smugness, thank God. Huni yells out a panicked cry at the skeletons crumbling to the ground. Immediately, though, he brings himself back to his insufferable self and claims he already predicted something like this. No, you didn't. With the skeletons down, Lai leaps at Huni to attack him. As he's doing this, the Dark Magician activates yet another spell called Revenge of the Dead. Though it seems to fail, the spell's effects soon become apparent. Lai deals a critical hit to Huni, taking away more than 2,000 HP. However, this is immediately followed up by Lai crying out in agony. As it turns out, Huni's spell is a counter of sorts. All the damage Lai just dealt to Huni was almost tripled and returned onto him. Ian's celebration is cut short when he sees this, panicking at Lai's low health. Considering his max HP, another few attacks could put him out of commission permanently. After Lai takes one more hit, Ian instantly unsummons the wolf. There's no way he's risking Lai dying over this. He's not used to fighting without Lai, but Huni should be pretty low on HP himself as well now. As long as he plays this right, he should still be able to win. With the tide of the battle turning back in Huni's favor, he starts boasting about his power and Lai's weakness, yada yada yada. I swear this kid never shuts up. In the midst of his monologue, Huni activated yet another new spell, Soul Absorption. By absorbing the fallen skeletons, his own HP has been returned to full. Seeing all of his options disappearing one after the other, Ian starts giving some serious thought to just how the hell he's going to come out of this situation on top. To everyone's surprise, Ian unsummons Macho as well, leaving him alone in the arena against his opponent. Just what is the young man planning? Seeing Ian unsummon his beasts, Huni starts bragging about how he must have realized he has no chance of winning. Annoyed, Ian just tells him to start behaving or he'll get a spanking. Furious at Ian for treating him like a child, Huni starts losing his cool. This is exactly what Ian wants though. An angry kid's a predictable one after all. For the next step of his plan, Ian brings out the one beast he still hasn't unsummoned, Squishy the Abyss Turtle. To Kumi's confusion, Squishy just moves his way and stands to defend Ian angrily. When a shot of Dark Judgment fails to penetrate Squishy's barrier, Huni's immaturity rears its head yet again. In frustrated anger, he summons his skeletons and orders them to go forth, but not at Squishy, rather straight at Ian, now defenseless and on his own. The Taming Master can do nothing but dodge the attacks of the skeletons with surprising speed. Huni tries to make fun of him for not being able to do anything else, but Ian reveals his real plan at that exact moment. Using one of his skills, Spatial Distortion, he switches places with Squishy, who has quietly moved behind Huni. Now in the kid's blind spot with no skeletons nearby, Ian unleashes a powerful push into Huni's back which catches him off guard. and blows him right to the edge of the arena. Checkmate to the brat. Sitting there, he begins throwing a tantrum about how he isn't out yet. Ian just walks up to him and flicks him in the forehead, knocking him out of the arena. By tournament rules, Huni is disqualified and the match is Ian's. The crowd goes wild with praise for the summoner. Meanwhile, Ian faces the crying Huni and tells him this is part of growing up. He's just got to deal with it. The kid, however, continues crying like a kid and demands a rematch. Sometime later, Ian steps back into the arena for his final fight and the final match of the tournament as well. His opponent, the assassin Lin Long, is a formidable fighter who got this far using just his basic skills. On the other hand, Ian has already revealed most of his abilities in his previous matches, not the best tactical situation to be in. The two fighters meet in the middle to shake hands, a crowd going wild over the two incredible fighters. As the countdown for the match begins, Ian starts planning ahead. As a summoner, he'll have no chance if he can't deal with Lin Long's invisibility skill, something he'll have as an assassin. As such, he'll maximize his senses, dodge Lin Long's first attack with his reflexes, and then counter hard. At that point, he'll have to end the match before the invisibility skill's cooldown ends. With this plan in mind, Ian stands ready for Lin Long. Except, the assassin doesn't use invisibility like expected. He just brings out a dagger and leaps straight at Ian. Now my boy got Uno reverse carded. Though he's surprised, Ian quickly realizes Lin Long must be saving invisibility for a more critical moment. After all, it has a pretty long cooldown. It's the exact move Ian himself would have made. As Lin Long leaps at him, Ian realizes his movements are much more careful than in his previous matches. With this in mind, he starts planning how to handle the fight. He orders his summoned beasts to scatter so the assassin can't get to them. After doing so, he has Match of Fire and Ice Wave. Lin Long, however, uses a skill called Shadow Migration to completely avoid it and emerge from some nearby shadows. This finally tips off Ian to what exactly his specialty is. Lin Long has a hidden class that's connected to shadows in some way. He's from the Nara clan. Regardless of his seemingly unbeatable defense, Ian is determined to find a way to win. He orders Lai to use Berserk and attack Lin Long, only for the shadow user to use the same skill again. Eventually, Ian forces Lin Long into a dodge that puts him in the air. Ian is certain he won't be able to dodge an attack midair, especially with his migration skill on cooldown. He fires an attack, sure it'll hit now. But surprise, surprise, Lin Long ain't having that. With a surprisingly flexible twirl, he moves out of the attack's path and launches a bunch of knives at Ian from the air. With a smug grin, Ian blocks the knives, not realizing the action is futile. Much like his other abilities, the knives are shadow-related. Though he tries to block them, Ian is still slashed to bits from all directions. After taking thousands of HP worth of damage from that single attack, Ian orders Lai to attack with an electrical sphere. Through some stroke of luck and a handful of good timing, the attack actually lands. With this, he now has the stun effect, reducing his speed by 30%. With Lin Long's speed lowered, Ian rushes forward for a frontal assault. Using himself as a distraction, he has Lai launch their true attack. Lin Long evades with Shadow Migration again, but Ian is ready for this. He quickly turns to the direction he's moving towards and leaps there himself as well. Lin Long proves to be a step ahead and shows up behind Ian instead. Luckily, Ian is able to figure it out just in time to strike Lin Long with electrical propagation. Even with the stun effect applied to him and his HP draining, Lin Long strikes forward with one of his knives. Ian brings up Squishy in shield mode to block. Though it's a little surprising to see Lin Long do more than 1 HP of damage to Squishy, there's no time to worry about that. Before he can react, Ian is hit with a slash of Lin Long's blade that ends up a critical hit. Between that and the bleed effect he'd been inflicted with, Ian's HP is tanking fast. While using some first aid to restore a little HP, he strategizes. With how big the gap in their remaining HP is, Ian doesn't have much chance of winning. That doesn't mean he's about to give up, though. It's time for one final, all-out attack. Ian abandons all semblance of defense and dashes right at Lin Long. Dodging his blade and running right past, Ian stops behind Lin Long and makes his move. With the use of spatial distortion, he switches places with Lai and has the wolf take a massive bite out of Lin Long's side. Furball likes ribs, understandable. Seeing the amount of damage Lin Long takes, Ian feels his hopes being renewed. If he just stays at long range and keeps up his hit-and-run tactics, he may be able to win this. Or not if Dagger Boy has anything to say about it. Lin Long dodges all of Ian's following attacks and fires a trio of shadow daggers at Ian. As they close in on him, a magic circle appears on each of them. sending them straight into Ian's shadow. With this final attack, Ian's HP is brought under 5% and he's ejected from the arena. Lin Long has won the match and the tournament. Ian shakes Lin Long's hand in a show of sportsmanship while the crowd goes wild at the battle's conclusion. Later, while sitting in front of his reward chest for coming in second, Ian goes over his shortcomings in the day's battle. If he'd stuck to his strengths instead of fighting head-on, he probably could have won. Not to mention he's getting way too reliant on his minions. Either way, things to work on later. Right now, it's reward time. With an accessory and weapon chest in front of him, he opens the accessory chest first. What he finds inside is perfect for Ian. A ring called Dazzling Summoner's Fighting Spirit. Not only does it raise his spirit mana restoration and base stats, it even boosts the stats of any minions with max loyalty. Plus, the item is locked to his account so he can't lose it. After equipping the ring, Ian opens the weapons chest and is overjoyed by what he sees. The weapon he's received is the Dazzling Summoner's Longbow. He can finally fight as an archer again. Between its spirit mana restoration, buff to minions, and special ability to lower skill cooldown, it's a pretty solid weapon. Ian's a bit hesitant to replace the knuckles he's currently using since he won't have the respawn skill anymore. Overall though, the bow just has better benefits for the purpose of grinding. After checking Lei's stats, he's even more sure this was the right choice. Between the minions he has now, if he gets just one more exceptional minion, he'll be a force to be reckoned with. He feels like he's forgetting something though. Can't quite put his finger on. Oh crap, the bet with Professor Lee. With everything that's happened, Ian only has 50 days left to reach level 93. A week later, Ian has just barely managed to hit level 62 through tireless grinding. Thanks to a class special skill he got at level 60, he's even able to double his minions' combat abilities. And with all of them being at levels in the 60s, that's a pretty huge buff. Almost to the point their current hunting ground is getting too easy. To remedy this, Ian decides to head to the Porkle Mountains. Apart from the stronger enemies, he'll also take him a step closer to the quest Oakley gave him. The quest to revive the great war dragon of old. As soon as he gets level 70, he can get started on that. Out in the real world, Ian finds something interesting on the forums while taking a meal break. A new monster called the Lava Witch has appeared in the Porkle Mountains. Not only does it have an AoE attack and high damage, it's also a rare rank monster to begin with. Considering how strong it is, it'll make grinding much easier if Ian captures it. And it'll be pretty cool to evolve too. That's all. Has nothing to do with the thing being a flaming hot anime waifu. Definitely not. After lunch, Ian logs back into the game and enters the Porkle Mountains. The bandits here range from level 68 to the 70s, so grinding here should be quite effective. After finding a bandit camp, Ian makes preparations for his attack on them. He has Macho move a giant boulder he uses as a hiding spot and issues orders to lie. The wolf is to sneak up on the camp's sentinels and wait for Ian's signal. Meanwhile, Ian himself rushes right towards the camp. It's time to finally use a bow again. As he closes in on the camp entrance, Ian activates electrical propagation. Since he's using a bow now, the skill is applied to his bows rather than his fists. Right as the sentinels notice his presence, Ian lets loose an arrow that flies right into one of their heads. This applies stun and an increase to electrical damage to the bandit. While that guy falls from the damage, Ian orders Lai to jump in and get the other one. As they do this, alarms start going off in the camp as the bandits realize they're under attack. After quickly mobilizing, the lot of them give chase to Ian, who starts running back the way he came. This is all according to his plan. After leading the bandits on an exhausting chase, Ian reaches the cliff where Macho is hiding behind his boulder. Squishy and Tweety want in on the action too, but Ian tells them to just relax for now. When the bandits catch up, their leader starts roaring at Ian as if to intimidate him. Weird approach, but alright. Kinda looks stupid though. Ian seems to think so as well, simply smirking as he yells out to Macho. It's time for him to jump in. Quite literally at that. The massive ice golem leaps off the cliff above them where he was hiding and does a ton of damage to the bandits from the fall alone. Ian's smug internal monologue is cut short though when he realizes a flaw in that plan. Macho took quite a bit of fall damage from that move as well. Whoops. Putting aside the gloating, Ian has Macho fire an ice wave at the bandits. They start fleeing in fear, only for their leader to yell out that they need to slaughter the fat golem. Yeah, bad move. Macho's pretty sensitive. While the ice golem chases after that one guy, Ian has Lai attack the other bandits in a flurry of claws and fangs. The bleed damage from Lai's attacks alone manages to take out a few of them. What's more, the passive ability of his new equipment has just kicked in and placed dazzling marks on the bandits. With this, The cooldown time for all Ian's skills has been reduced by 5 seconds. Before Ian can capitalize and finish off the rest of the bandits, they start fleeing the scene with their tails between their legs. Confused, Ian suddenly realizes these are far too few to beat all the mountain bandits. Where are the rest of them? Should he even bother chasing after them? All these questions need to be put on hold when he sees what happens next. The lead bandit bumps into a bare-chested man who beheads him with a single swing of his axe. This is the bandit chief. And with him is a gathering of mountain bandit sorcerers who are all leveled in the 70s. Safe to say, things are not looking too great for our boy Ian. Regardless of the odds he faces though, the Taming Master's confidence stays intact. He can handle this. He knows he can. With his own subordinate's blood dripping from his axe, the bandit chief locks eyes with Ian. A sinister red energy glows from his eyes as he glares at the Taming Master with a wild grin on his face. Ian can only curse his luck. Between the sorcerers in the mid-70 levels and this absolute brute of a guy, things aren't going to go nearly as smoothly as before from here. But even so, he can handle this. A few levels ago, he might not have been so confident, but now he knows he'll clap these fools. With his bow raised, he smirks back at the chief, seeing this as the starting signal of sorts. The bandit chief yells out a command for his sorcerers to take out the ice golem first. All at once, the sorcerers summon forth their magic circles and start casting spells at Macho. Worst of all, they're all fire-type sorcerers. Damn, Ian wasn't wrong to curse his luck. What the hell? As the flames start melting Macho's HP, Ian wonders if he should unsummon the golem. It'll be much harder to get through this without him, but he can't afford Macho dying either. That'd mean a full week of grinding without him while he respawns. Right as Ian's about to unsummon him, though, something else catches his eye. Macho's XP is less than 1% away from leveling up. If he can just get that maxed, all his HP will recover with the level up anyways. Quickly, Ian orders Lai to use Berserk and instructs him to kill the sorcerers Ian shoots. In the meantime, Macho is to back up and take cover. As they're preparing to put their plan into motion, a pair of sorcerers fire off an advanced flame skill that will obliterate any HP Macho has left. Ian orders Lai to kill the sorcerer conjuring the spell before it can go off. Unfortunately, the fireball is already shooting at Macho by the time the wolf gets to their enemies. Set ablaze, Macho starts losing the little HP he has left to burn damage. At the same time though, Lai kills the bandits, granting him the XP needed to level up. A bright light shines from Macho as the system announces he's reached level 65. To Ian's confusion, the golem keeps glowing even after leveling up. Is bro glitching out? As the light from Macho expands further and further, Ian suddenly realizes where he's seen this before. It would seem that Macho is finally evolving. As the evolution completes, a wave of force flies off of Macho, blowing away all the bandits in his range. As the dust settles, the creature left in Macho's place can be seen. Cuz it no way that thing's Macho. A system pop-up appears to state Ice Golem Macho has evolved into an Abyss Golem. Alright, I stand corrected. Ian thinks about the new title and concludes that monsters from the Abyss Island must all get the Abyss title upon reaching a unique rank. Squishy himself is also classed as an Abyss Turtle. Right as he's realizing this, the system informs him of something that brings Ian to joyous tears. His intermediate training skill has been upgraded to advanced training thanks to Macho's evolution. With this, he'll be able to improve his minions faster than ever. The bandit chief chooses this precise moment to attack. He orders his sorcerers to fire the first attack, making Ian turn his attention to them. He can only be annoyed that he hasn't even been able to check Macho's status window before they showed back up. Fortunately, it turns out he doesn't really need to. All on his own. Macho raises his fist and launches a punch in the air. The shockwave from this alone knocks the sorcerers off their feet and into walls, but Macho isn't done yet. Bringing the same hand up with a curled palm, he summons a ball of orange and purple energy in front of it. Like a flash, the ball zips forward and hits the sorcerers, showing an uncanny resemblance to a missile. With these new abilities, Macho clears out the bandits like yesterday's trash. Once that's done, Ian sits down to think about the latest developments in peace. As far as Macho's evolution is concerned, it must have been tied to a level requirement, which is why it triggered as soon as he reached level 65. On the other hand, Lai had already evolved as early as level 20. The requirements must vary from minion to minion. Not to mention, Lai can still evolve one more time while Macho has reached his peak. The golem skipped past the rare rank and evolved straight to unique, so it's not the worst thing though. Between that, his insanely high new defense stat and his new skills, Ian's quite happy. These skills are Abyss Hole and Protection of the Abyss. While the former is the offensive move Macho used right after evolving, the latter is a defensive move. And a pretty damn broken one at that. Not only does it increase his defensive power the more damage he takes, but it also gives him a shield worth up to 50% of his HP when he goes under 10%. Now that he's taken stock of all the important stuff, Ian prepares for the next step on his journey, the elimination of the mountain bandits' den. After tearing through more bandit groups across the mountain with his newly evolved golem, Ian decides to take a break. He has to heal himself and look for a certain something anyway, so it works out. As he rests, he teases Squishy over being almost out of Heron's meatballs. Apart from that, he also gets a message in his chat with Yoon. He just tells the guy he's busy leveling up right now and closes it. Still a bit upset, Squishy tries to call him out on wasting time loitering here instead of grinding anyways. As though to answer the little turtle's accusation, the thing Ian's looking for appears at just that moment. With a shot of his bow, he pins it to a nearby tree. This thing is none other than Cropia, a bird-type beast that's great for getting resources. As the bird tries to fly away, Ian and his beasts do the logical thing. They jump that fool. After checking Cropia's stat window, Ian is delighted to find it has a pretty solid speed buff skill. Using the respawn skill on his knuckle weapons, he'll be able to boost his agility by a ton with that. Before binding Cropia, he makes a quick change in his equipped items so his leadership stat is high enough to bind the bird. With that done, the Taming Master and his minions head to their final destination for the day, the center of Porkle Mountain. After arriving at the location, Ian and his beasts are faced with a literal army of bandits ready to defend their base. They ain't ready for these guys though. Between Macho's Abyss Hole, Ian's electrical propagation, and just the overall ferocity of the group, the bandits start going down like flies. In the midst of the chaos, Ian switches his weapon from the knuckles back to his long bow, since it's better suited to horde fights. Right after equipping the bow, Ian spots someone he's been expecting to see, the chief of Central Porkle Mountain, the boss of this whole thing. But something's wrong. Unlike when he came here with his previous character, the chief is at level 80 now. Not only that, his weapons changed to a long-range one. Things can never just be easy, can they? Though he's shaken, Ian is confident he can deal with this. After all, long-range enemies have lower health stats. He should be fine if he just takes him out quickly. Set on this tactic, Ian fires a combination attack with Macho, an Abyss Hole and electrical propagation shooting forth and fusing. Meanwhile, he orders Lai to go for the leader. This only serves to anger the chief, who believes he's being underestimated. He uses a wide-range buff skill to block the attack and save all his underlings. This shocks Ian since that's a move reserved for tank-type bosses. Running out of options, Ian uses weakness detection on the chief. Alongside that, he casts explosive potential to double Lai's combat ability. Layers that with the Berserk skill and sends him to the chief. That is one juiced-up wolf. As Lai leaps forward, the bandits quickly get in between him and their chief, ready to defend him. As the wolf clashes with their shields, their clash is so intense a shockwave flies off them. That's not nearly enough to stop the wolf beast of the Taming Master himself. Without missing a beat, Lai lunges between the bandits and starts tearing them apart, as he's slashing and biting the crap out of them. The chief raises his weapon to fire at him, enraged by his men's pain. He's unable to follow through on that when an arrow shot from Ian's bow grazes the side of his arm, slashing it open. Ready to attack his true target, Lai breaks through the bandits and leaps at the chief. Baffled and taken by surprise, the chief can only swear as Lai slashes through his side and deals a critical hit. With that slash, the chief's right arm is taken clean off the shoulder, leaving him with just one good arm left. On top of that, he's inflicted with the bleed effect, sapping his HP little by little. In just that one attack, the chief's HP has gone under half. Skill issue. Get good loser. Assured of his victory at this point, Ian figures he just needs to keep this up a bit longer and he'll win. At Cool My Jets a bit, bro. Take another look. With his one remaining arm, the bandit chief takes his long-range weapon and bashes it right into Lai. Thrown away from the force, the wolf yelps in pain. Ian is shocked at just how much damage that single attack has done to Lai. That overpowered horse crap must have boosted him to a stupid extent. Damn it. Quickly, Ian formulates a new plan and turns to his minions. With an order for Lai to retreat, he tells Macho to throw Ian himself straight at their enemy. Though he's worried for his master's safety, Macho obeys and does as he's asked. Dang, what good boy. As the Abyss Golem shoots him forward with the speed of a bullet, Ian brings out his bow and fires a shot straight at the chief. Said chief fires an attack of his own, but Ian is able to dodge it and take the advantage when his arrow hits the chief. Hell yeah. Oh, never mind. The speed of that throw made Ian take a good bit of fall damage as well. Whoops, can't focus on that right now though. Quickly switching his weapon to the full metal knuckles, Ian activates the respond ability and copies Macho's Abyss hole. Swinging his arm forward, Ian chucks the ball of darkness at the chief and tears him a new one. Not letting up, Lai jumps back into the fray too. Before the chief can recollect himself, Lai and Ian jump him like a common street thug and absolutely ruin him. With the chief beaten, Ian gets a ton of XP for defeating a boss as well as a reward chest. Before he can open it, his attention is brought to a pressing matter. The other bandits are still here, and they're pissed at what just happened to their chief, Crap Baskets. With his lowered HP and overall exhaustion, Ian's only option is retreat. Using Cropia the bird's abilities, he dashes and bounces straight out of the base. With this, he's now completely safe. Wait, is he forgetting something? Oh crap, he forgot to unsummon Lang and Macho from the damn base. Later, as the sun rises in Kalen, Ian celebrates all the useful stuff he's gotten from this latest grind, even if he didn't hit level 70. For now though, it's time to find Heron and get some fresh minion food. After returning to Murin, Ian spends some time looking around for Heron. Luckily, that doesn't take long as she finds him. Along with her is Carwin, Ian's guildmate who introduced him to Heron way back when. Rather than catching up with him, Ian and Heron quickly fall into a world of their own. Sparkles appear around the pair as they share what they've been up to since they last met. Geez, get a room already. Even Carwin's feeling like a third wheel. Luckily, Ian remembers his friend is still there and turns to him. As it happens, everyone in their guild is already over level 90, with one of them, Phylan, being past 100. Hearing this, Ian decides he has to start stepping up his own game as well. Never mind the fact he's already playing practically 24/7. Heron and Carwin both show concern over just how much Ian is playing and if he's getting enough.
Geht, wieso?
Rest. W friends. He assures them he has his reasons though and brushes it off. Yeah, a bet that decides a whole semester of grades. Incredible. Heron remembers something she's been meaning to ask about and questions Ian about his latest minion, the one who loves her meatballs so much. Understanding who she means instantly, Ian summons Squishy so she can meet him. Unfortunately, the snobby little turtle doesn't seem to like her very much. At least not until she brings out a meatball for him. The second he gets that he's all buddy-buddy with her. Little man's a bona fide food digger. Before she can give him any more from her stash, Ian confiscates them all and tells her he can only have one at a time. To calm down the little turtle's anger at this, Ian spins a whole story about how Squishy's lost popularity against another turtle. All because he's gotten fat from the meatballs. Ever the prideful creature, this is enough to make Squishy agree with Ian and back up from the meatballs. Scamming 101, gaslight the crap out of M-folks. Sometime later, Ian reached the edge of the Porkle Mountains atop Lay's back. It's time to head into the scorching plateau and catch that lava witch. After fighting their way through some generic scorpion monsters, Ian and his minions reach the plateau's underground dungeon. Stepping inside, they're faced with a horde of lava spawn in the mid-semi levels and even a lava warch. Whatever that is, since the monsters get rarer the further down the dungeon you go, Ian has a plan he's set on. He needs to get to the lowest floor of the dungeon as fast as possible and catch the lava witch. To do this, they'll use a simple tactic. Macho will stay back to avoid attracting the monster's attention. Meanwhile, Ian will fire arrows to mark the monsters that need to be beaten first and Lai will take them out. With their strategy confirmed, Ian brings out his bow. With a grin on his face, he activates electrical propagation and charges up his arrow like a lightning bolt ready to strike. Ian and his minions use the strategy he's come up with to advance through the dungeon. He shoots an electric propagation arrow at the nearest lava warch and activates explosive potential on Lai. With his combat potential juiced up, the wolf beast lunges forward and makes quick work of the enemies in a flurry of claws. Together, the summoner and his minions will be sure to make it through this. Not too long after, Ian has made it to what he's sure is the last floor. Here, he sees something odd, because everything else here is so normal. Not only are there far more lava warches and lava spawn here, but they're a different color than the ones before them. Taking a closer look, he notes that the Warch is named as Polluted Lava Warch. Between that and them ignoring him for the moment, Ian figures this must be related to some other quest. He'll just have to deal with whatever it is later. For now, onwards he goes. After moving forward, he comes upon the sight of a massive double door with a crimson horned figure drawn above it. Since the 10th floor is supposed to be the last one, this confuses Ian, so he decides to check it out. Once he enters the doors, he's in for his biggest shock here so far. Between two pillars, a path stretches forward like a bridge of sorts, and just a few steps ahead, it's destroyed, leaving there to be no path forward. That's not the shocking part, though. No, that honor goes to the literal sea of fire all around them. Seriously, what the hell? With a baffled expression, Ian asks what the hell this is, a lava fall. As if it heard him and wants to answer his question. A system pop-up appears at just that moment. It tells him he's the first to discover the scorching lava fall in lava springs. This grants him some buffs to compatibility and resistance against fire types. As he's taking this in, yet another ridiculous thing appears. From inside the lava, a massive, and I mean massive, monster appears. With the head of a ram and body of an Olympian bodybuilder, he stands before Ian and says the one qualified to enter this place has finally arrived. Thanks to that little bit of info, Ian works out that this is a quest in a hidden location that only summoners can enter. That explains why he's the first to find it at least. The creature introduces himself as Hellion, the guardian of the lava springs they are now standing within. With his own identity given, he asks for Ian's. Once intros are done, Hellion wastes no time in telling Ian what exactly his quest here is. He needs Ian to purify these tainted springs and solve the problems caused by it. Knowing how profitable hidden quests can be, Ian instantly accepts. Might regret that in a second, bud. The first stage of the quest is to capture 20 lava warches and bring them back to Hellion with a binding lava stone he'll provide. A system pop-up confirms this, but also shows something that puts money signs in Ian's eyes. Every single warch he captures for this quest will net him a ridiculous 42,500 XP. That's as much as 12 warches during normal hunting. After getting the binding stone from Hellion, Ian takes off on his task. After all, he only has 3 hours to complete it. Damn, should read the fine print. Almost a full 3 hours later, Ian races into the lava springs with just a few minutes to spare. To Hellion's surprise, Ian even managed to complete his task. Not only that, he went beyond and captured a hopping 31 warches. This astounds Hellion, who honestly thought Ian would fail. After getting the XP for the quest, more than 1 million in fact, Ian celebrates being even closer to level 71. After that, he turns to Hellion and asks if he needs anything else. With a smirk, the Guardian tells him he does indeed, shooting a feeling of anxiety through Ian. Sometime later, Ian can be seen smashing away at the side of a mountain with a little pickaxe. Suddenly, he lets out a frustrated yell. He's been grinding quests for Hellion for over 24 hours now. When the hell is it gonna end? The reason Ian's been hacking away at the mountainside like it just insulted his mama is to gather a certain item. These are red moss roots, an herb found inside the rocks of the mountain. After hours of digging away, Ian's collected a grand total of 35 of these things. With that, this latest quest is complete and he returns to Hellion. After handing over the red moss roots to the Lava Guardian, Ian collapses to his butt on the spot. After 5 consecutive herb gathering quests, he's not only exhausted but also just super frustrated. He doesn't even care if there are still more quests to do, but please, for the love of God, don't be more gathering quests. Luckily for him, they're not. Matter of fact, there's no more quests, period. Before his eyes, the lava fall in the springs rises in a thundering explosion. Ian panics at the thought of the dungeon collapsing and wonders if he's going to die. Does he have to log out? Oh, never mind then. The lava fall stops rumbling as fast as it started. As it settles back down, the entire thing's color slowly starts to shift. From the fiery and angry burning yellow shades of lava, it changes to a cool and calming light blue. From the midst of this, Hellion rises, his own complexion similarly changed. The Lava Guardian's gratitude for Ian knows no end. Thanks to his actions, the lava springs have finally been purified. Now, it is time for his reward. While he brings it out, system pop-ups start granting Ian the rewards for the quest. For completing the triple S-ranked Lava Springs linked quest, he has gained almost 13 million XP. With this, he's now at level 71. Though he could have gone up one more level if he hunted during the quest, there's nothing to be done about it now. As for Hellion's reward, he grants Ian a binding lava stone. But not just any stone. Within this lies one of the great guardians who protected lava springs like Hellion now does. though the normal reward would be a lesser guardian. Hellion is giving Ian his personal favorite as thanks for all this help. This guardian is a level 80 lava drake king, born from boiling lava. The king of all drakes with ridiculously strong attack power, this is a hero rank monster. Not only that, it has lava breath as a basic skill, and an even larger version as an active skill. It can't evolve any further, but for someone who's just looking to level up, this is the perfect minion. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a high enough leadership stat to summon it. He'll have to go to town and get an item to increase it or release Cropia. Ah well, easy fix either way. Onwards we go. Ian and Hellion part on friendly terms with the Lava Guardian, wishing the summoner the best. Out in the real world, classes at Kiyu have started and Yu Yun is panicking at Ian/Jinsung's absence. He worries that Ian may have collapsed in his VR capsule since he's been online for 50 hours straight recently. If he doesn't answer Yu Yun's calls soon, he's going to go check on him at home. Double friend man, get you a Yu Yun. Meanwhile, Ian is in a hunting ground with his minions grinding away. Right now, he's up to level 89. Between Macho's defenses and Abyss Hole, Lai's sheer ferocity and Rake the Drake's flame breath, their prey stands no chance. Wait, Rake the Drake? God, Ian really sucks at names. Whatever, move him on. After dispatching their latest horde of monsters, Ian gets a pop-up that he's reached level 90. With this milestone, he can finally receive a special class skill again. He only prays it's something that'll help him level up. As per the bet with Professor Lee, he only has 10 days to reach level 93. Even that's stretching it since he's counting Professor Lee's first class as the final day of the bet instead of the semester's start. All his work up until now could boil down to what this skill provides him. Please be something that'll help with leveling up. The skills he ends up getting are called Link and Assimilate. Link is a skill which, as the name implies, lets him link any two of his minions with each other or himself. With this, the damage they take is distributed to both of them in a certain ratio and their HP stat is averaged out. Though it could be pretty useful in certain situations. It has just as much potential to screw the user over if used wrong. Assimilation, on the other hand, allows him to average out all his own combat stats with one minion of his choice. Plus, he'll receive 20% of the minion's highest stat. To test this out, he uses the skill on Squishy. As expected, the skill makes Ian's defense power skyrocket since that's Squishy's specialty. The rest of his stats tank quite a bit though, so the skill's kind of situational. Plus, to Squishy's infinite amusement, it makes his avatar look like Squishy. Hell no. Not happening. Deactivate skill. Never using it with Squishy again. For now, it's time to finally take a break. Since he's reached level 90, he'll take about a 5-hour nap in real life before he jumps back into grinding. Out in the real world, Yu Yun and Heron end up meeting each other at uni and share their concerns over Jinsung's absence. Finally, it's the day of Professor Lee's first class and Jinsung's still not here. Does he want to get in trouble? Unlike the classes so far, their attendance actually counts from here on out. At the front of class, Professor Lee is wondering the same thing as he takes roll call. Just what the hell does the kid think he's doing? As he reaches Jinsung's name and starts calling out, he of course receives no reply. He lets out a disappointed sigh and says he'll just have to mark him down as absent. But at that exact moment, right as Professor Lee is finishing his sentence, the door slams open and in comes Park Jinsung. He's panting and drenched in sweat from running here. But nonetheless, he's arrived. All Might doesn't have a copyright on that phrase, right? As Jinsung bursts into class with a bang, Professor Lee tells him to just take his seat and not make a fuss. Ian goes up to Yu Yun at once when he sees him and takes his seat next to his longtime friend. Yu Yun, understandably, is quite annoyed that Jinsung hasn't been replying to any of his calls or texts. He was starting to get really worried. Jinsung just says he had his reasons and lets out an exhausted breath. With how beat he is, it's a wonder his soul doesn't just fly out with it. Deciding to stop keeping his friend in suspense, Jinsung hands Yu Yun his phone with a picture opened on it. Said picture is a screenshot of his Kalen character and his level. Exactly 93. Yu Yun is so amazed he can't help but let out a loud exclamation at what he's seeing. Bro is flabbergasted. Reaching level 93 so fast is one thing, but to do it as a summoner, on top of that, all that brain rotting grinding makes a lot more sense now. What Jinsung does next shocks Yu Yun even more though. With a smile on his face, he sends the screenshot of his character to none other than Professor Lee. Yu Yun can only stare at him and ask in muted and confused anger why he would do that. Ian just says it's a secret and watches as Professor Lee notices the message. In no time, he receives a reply and opens it to read the professor's message. He wants to see Jin Sung in his office after class. Also, he missed his deadline. Well, crap. After class, Ian sits in Professor Lee's office with a nervous expression on his face. Not one to beat around the bush, he has Ian explain the screenshot from earlier. Once he confirms that it's really Ian's character, he brings up the terms of their bet. The deadline for it was set to the beginning of the semester, was it not? With no other choice available to him, Jin Sung decides to go with his gut and do what he can to salvage the situation. That bait and a bluff is absolute butt off. Thinking fast, he makes up a story about how he actually reached level 93 before school started, but he collapsed from playing so much so frequently. He's just been recovering from that until yesterday, which is why he missed the classes up until now. But he definitely cleared their bet. He did. Okay. They'll be skeptical, and Ian believes there's a solid chance of him calling off the bet since it was just a verbal agreement. Professor Lee doesn't do that. Instead, he just asks Ian if he's free this Sunday. Later, Ian re-enters Kalen at the Scorching Plateau. Professor Lee asks him to meet him in Kalen at Lovo's village on Sunday at 2 p.m. Until then, Ian has every intention of enjoying the game now. Without the pressure of having to level up, he can finally focus on the backlog of quests he's built up, since he still has no idea how to hatch a griffin egg. He sets aside the Emperor's quest and focuses on Oakley's instead. It's time to head to the Dimensional Magic Tower. This is one place in the game Ian's actually never been to before. Quietly, he enters the deserted-looking tower. Inside, he finds nothing but a large, wiring magic portal. A system pop-up appears to ask him if he'll head to the upper floors of the magic tower. Ian figures why not and accepts, stepping through the portal, only to land on a bridge of light that leads to another portal. Confused but not backing down, he starts walking across the bridge to the next portal. As he does this, a horde of trolls suddenly spawns in front of the next portal. As they assemble to form a barrier of sorts, Ian realizes he needs to beat the monsters that spawn on each floor to go up. That's easy. In a flash, he summons all of his minions and sends them forward. With how overleveled they now are for this quest.
Nicola, ich hab ihn nicht versteckt. Er liegt obvious auf meinem Schreibtisch rum.